More and more recently, I've realized that along with good looking footage, it's almost more important to have unique looking footage. And I think a big takeaway of this camera is that it's unique. I never thought I'd be able to actually use this camera. This is the FujiFilm Eterna 55. It's a medium format cinema camera. It was one of my most anticipated cameras of 2025. Then I got to use it quite a bit. Some things changed, some things didn't. You'll see. But first, here you get to see my setup. On the iPhone, I've got a little light right here, chair right here. This is what it looks like on an iPhone. So we're gonna switch from this iPhone to the Eterna and show you the 4x3 medium format readout, the uniqueness of this camera, what makes it stand out, and I'm gonna talk about my experience. Okay guys, now you're seeing the look on the Eterna, and I know it looks different. I know it looks insane, and we're gonna go over why that is, what I like about this camera, and the issues with this camera later. But first, let me tell you how I got my hands on it. A few weeks ago, I was able to help out Cam Mackey with a video that we shot in Bisbee, Arizona. On this shoot, I was able to use the FujiFilm Eterna quite a bit. So first, I want to thank Cam for trusting me. But shooting in Arizona was interesting for a few reasons. First off, let me start with my first impressions of this camera. As soon as I picked it up and started shooting with it, I fell in love. I thought I was gonna buy one. It struck me with that unique look just so aggressively that I was in. Then I started having some issues. I started thinking about the camera more critically, and I'll get into those later. But what struck me so aggressively was the medium format look. That's the first thing you see, especially when you have it in its full sensor readout mode. It looks like medium format. If you've ever shot with medium format film or medium format digital, it has that crazy separation. It has that substantial pop. Having that in a cinema camera is insane. Another thing that stood out was that it's Fujifilm, and they do something with color that no other camera company does. They have their film sims, and they're good. They're unique color profiles that are high quality and have a deep, interesting look. This camera is no exception, and in fact, it has another layer of uniqueness that's on top of it. It has an interesting way of sharpening detail. The camera has a lot of internal processing. It's a 102 megapixel medium format sensor. That's too big for a cinema camera to read out. So it's pulling that much resolution down to 4K, 6K, whatever you're shooting in. And it has to do a lot of filtering, processing, and normally that results in a lot of bad artifacts. But Fujifilm has found a way to get around that and kind of come up with this unique look that comes out of the camera. Now, we've noticed it does over sharpen, maybe not the best word. Let me know what you think, but it adds some detail to some mid-tones, kind of where your skin sits a lot of the time. And it's this unique sandpapery sharpness that is it's filmic, but it is very sharp. Overall, the look is very good and it's very unique. You have to like that unique look, but I do, so I was awestruck by it. Then the physical design of the camera is just great. The handle on top is one of my favorite handles. There's so many programmable buttons and dials. It's very well thought out. As a camera operator, I wasn't finding anything to complain about. The fact that it has a menu screen on either side of the camera, so you're never looking for it. It's got a great big 6 display that tells you all of the basic information to know what your camera's actually doing. It's got an insane amount of good record buttons, tally lights, I can see what it's doing right now. Lots of great stuff. The cable management that's built in, fantastic. So many good things. But then after all those things that are just amazing, you get to this issue that it has, where it freezes. And this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, I have to explain. All right, so here's what happened. Full transparency with the entire issue from the beginning. We get to use the Eterna, and we got it last minute. The model we got, we had no idea if it was pre-production, or the correct firmware, anything like that, and that's on us. We just didn't have time to go over everything and jump on a call with FujiFilm. But that means I had the misconception that what we were using was, for some reason, a full production model. It was not. So I was having an issue with freezing, and I reached out to FujiFilm and I said, what's happening here? Is this a firmware issue? What's going on? They were amazing and reached out for a call. I had a great conversation, a long conversation with one of the team members at FujiFilm, and he let me know that the model we were using, that specific camera, was not a production camera. It wasn't fully ready. And FujiFilm let me know that in the production models, that issue had been long fixed. So yeah, I didn't know what I was talking about, and I'm really glad I actually reached out to FujiFilm. This is something that's really difficult about using pre-production hardware, is you never know if the issues are because it's pre-production or because it's a part of the camera. In this case, it was not a part of the camera. I just want to clarify that tenfold. That's one of the issues. The other issue that a lot of people have with this camera is the look that it gives you. You want a $16,000 cinema camera to be able to do more than just one look. And this camera can absolutely do more than one look. You can record raw footage without any color processing through external monitors and stuff like that, but you can't do it internally. There's definitely a lot of the processing that I was talking about with the sensor that just happens, that it needs to do to use such a large sensor in a fast enough way. So you can't really get around that. I need to add more from my conversation with FujiFilm about what they're doing to get 102 megapixels down to whatever format you're shooting. There are lots of different ways to bring a sensor's resolution to a reasonable point when it has too many megapixels. First, they can't say exactly what's happening because every single different crop, every single different resolution, they're doing something different. That's because they're optimizing for each level individually, and your solution for a full sensor readout is going to be different than your solution for a 16:9 4K crop. But for someone like me, who I really like the look, it's been fine. But I can totally see that if you want to buy this for a production house or for lots of variations in production, it might be disappointing to have a camera that's locked into a bit of a more specific look. Talking about specific looks, I've been on a lot of shoots recently that have people hired just to shoot a specialized camera, whether it be film, Handycam, medium format film, Polaroid, something like that, just because it gives a unique look that has some feeling to it. Now, most of the time, it's easier to get this aesthetic with a camera that is lower quality than a cinema camera or something like that. I think people are just over the FX3 look. It looks fantastic, but everybody's doing it. So there's now counterculture. I think this camera is quite uniquely positioned to be a high quality version of this countercultural thing where you want something on set that's visually striking and different than your everyday FX3, FX6 gimbal setup. You know, the standard videographer thing, and I'm not knocking it. I just think it's too common now and people are over it. It has that medium format separation. It reminds me of medium format photography. It is so incredibly high quality. It's like luxury feeling. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but it's approved for shot on IMAX. It's one of the few digital cameras that can be used for films that are shot for IMAX. So all of those things are very important. And I, thankfully, for the last 2 days, have been able to take this camera from cam and shoot some of my own stuff on it. And I have to say, using this camera is so fucking nice because it is a workhorse. It's very functional in design. It's incredibly inspiring by having a unique look and being able to adapt a wide variety of lenses onto this sensor. You can crop in the sensor and get a standard VistaVision or Super 35 look. I'm truly just having a good time using it. I don't think it's specifically a camera that is in my budget range right now. The more I use this camera and then give it back to Cam and have to use something else, the more I crave shooting with it. It's very, very similar to medium format photography. Once you've tasted this look, it's really hard to go back to a standard look. Fully understand the amount of privilege I have just to use this camera right now, because it's not necessarily widely available. That's my experience with it. I hope you enjoyed a little bit more of a laid back video than my last couple. And if you did, subscribe. But otherwise, that's it. Bye forever.